Posted November 30, 2017, 183,050. The corridor leading to Adelaide Oval's new Bodyline bar, named after the infamous Ashes series of 85 years ago, has become a gateway into the past. Lining the walls are giant portraits of former players, including the main antagonists of the 193,233 summer. Firstly, there is Australian captain and opener Bill Woodfull. He is broad-faced and smiling softly. It was at Adelaide Oval, after he was struck over the heart by a ball while batting, that he uttered one of cricket's most famous lines: "There are two teams out there. One is trying to play cricket and the other is not." Alongside Woodfull is the major villain of the series, English captain Douglas Robert Jardine. He looks every bit the Oxford scholar, supercilious, aquiline and dolichocephalic. It was Jardine who instructed fast bowler Harold Larwood, who is two portraits further down, to aim short-pitch deliveries at Australia's batsmen. The tactic quickly became known as Bodyline, and its purpose was to force batsmen into defensive shots that would get them out, caught by leg-side fielders. Between the snapshots of Jardine and Larwood is a photo of Bodyline's chief target, Donald Bradman, later Sir Donald, the most formidable batsman in the history of cricket. Aged 24 at the time of the series, Bradman had earlier put England to the sword in 1930 and, after more stunning success in the intervening summers, was threatening to do so again. Such were his gifts that Jardine believed special measures were needed to curb his scoring. "It really did seem that Bradman was one day going to make 500 in a test match," said historian David Frith, whose book Bodyline Autopsy is the definitive account of the series. "It was a problem that worried a lot of English cricket people. Would England ever win again? We've tried to recreate that. A Adelaide Oval Test match was the high point of Bodyline, provoking neerites inside the ground as well as a diplomatic row, after Australia's cricket administrators described England's tactics as unsportsmanlike in a cable to their English counterparts. That match and the series have now been beautifully commemorated at the new bar, which will pour its first pints on Saturday and is brimming with artifacts from the time. The fact that it was one of the most famous tests, we want to remember that because, good or bad, it was part of history and it happened here," South Australian Cricket Association SACA CEO Keith Bradshaw said. "The players that played in that game, they were very brave, they were very courageous to walk out and face that type of bowling with very limited protection." Mr. Bradshaw said plans for the Bodyline bar in the Western Stand had been brewing for years, but the opportunity to develop the idea had only arisen this year. "We wanted to get it ready for the Ashes," Mr. Bradshaw said. "We've tried to recreate that era, some of the elegance, some of the ambience. Shotgun reflects game's perilous atmosphere." Earlier this year, SACA put out the call to collectors for memorabilia to put on display, and also had a rummage through its own storage. The search unearthed a beautiful array of cricket gear including bats, baggy green caps, cricket whites, a blazer, as well as tour books, old turnstiles, archival footage, and one rather unusual item. "You certainly wouldn't expect to see a shotgun, I'm sure, but there is some history behind this shotgun," Mr. Bradshaw said. "It was owned by the curator here, who was worried that he may need to protect the pitch overnight from vandalism. The weapon lends weight to CLR Jam's high-minded observation that Bodyline was the violence and ferocity of our age expressing itself in cricket." According to Mr. Bradshaw, the gun was handed over to police by the curator's grandson, after the 1996 firearms reforms introduced by John Howard. Rather than destroy it, the police disarmed it and donated it to SACA as a museum piece. 2017 crowd to rival 1933. During the 1933 Test match, tensions almost simmered over when Woodfull was struck. Days later, Australian wicket-keeper Bert Oldfield had his skull fractured by a Larwood lifter. On both occasions, onlookers were incensed. Mounted police prepared for a riot, worried the crowd would storm the pitch. "The normally genteel crowd at Adelaide seemed to be on the verge of revolt," David Frith said. "One or two of the England cricketers were looking at the stumps. They were going to grab them and use them as defence weapons. Madness was close to breaking out." Day 2 attracted a crowd of more than 50,000, a record for Test cricket at the ground that Keith Bradshaw expects to be broken on Saturday, on the first day of the first day night Ashes Test. "I'm very, very confident that we will go way past the 50,000 that was the record for any one day," he said. But, as Mr. Bradshaw and others have acknowledged, if there is any Bodyline-style bowling during the match, England's batsmen are the ones much more likely to be on the receiving end this time round. Topics: Cricket. History. Adelaide 5000, SA, England.